These are the 10 darkest moments from Rick and Morty that made all of our jaws drop. 10. Morty driving Lunas to off himself.
Oh my god, what have I done? Jesus, I made that guy kill himself!
So, Morty has always been shown as this moralistic parallel to Rick Sanchez, always trying to one-up him in terms of ethics and conscientiousness.
Why don't we christen our squeaky clean windshield here by watching a little of this purge through it?
What? No!
But he isn't exactly an angel of any kind by himself. While Rick may have proven that to us on multiple occasions,
A portal to the blender dimension? Then you should know you just killed your only leverage. Then come and get me, motherfucker!
I would say Morty's Mind Blowers was the episode that flipped the switch for me. And yes, that is also a pun for that entire warehouse full of people that Morty accidentally killed just because he flipped the wrong switch. Yeah, that was one of many other memories that traumatized Rick's grandson, but the one that really pushed the envelope was the case of Lunas. Let me set it up for you. The memory starts off with Morty and a telescope just outside their front lawn. Morty at first admires the American flag planted on the lunar surface before he notices a strange figure standing in a mid-stride walking pose. He then goes and tells his family, but nobody, including Rick, believes him. Instead, they suggest that it was merely a smudge on the lens. He then finds out that the figure he saw is, in fact, a real person named Mr. Lunas, as he comes to Morty's high school to work as a guidance counselor. Later on, Morty snaps pictures of Lunas planting an American flag in his yard and tells Principal Vagina that he thinks Lunas is up to something and lives on the moon. Vagina takes this as a metaphor for Lunas being PDF filed and goes outside to the parking lot to confront him, ending in Lunas getting punched in the face. As a result of this accusation, Lunas goes home and offs himself, which Morty finds out about from the ambulances outside of Lunas's home. Morty later eavesdrops on Lunas's funeral, where it is learned that Lunas served in the Marine Corps and that, from a certain angle, some people would say he looked like a smudge. Morty then runs home and sees that there is, in fact, a smudge on his telescope lens, realizing that he inadvertently drove Lunas to end himself.
Oh my god, what have I done? What have I done?
Yay, that's not something you'd want on your conscience at all. 9. Glockenspiel Jerry reaps what he sows.
I'm sorry, I didn't ask for this. I just want to live.
Man, talk about betraying your family only to reap instant karma for a lifetime. I know everyone likes to make fun of Morty for being a hormonal teenager,
I'll always be the one that makes everybody sad and a little bored.
or Rick for being a narcissistic know-it-all.
Before you say anything, they were already killing each other.
Jerry Smith is definitely one of the most dubious characters of the show. He's been shown as this jobless dad who's more of a burden to his family than anything else, which he is. But we get to see another side of his character in Season 5, Episode 2, called Mortyplicity. This entire episode deals with the fact that Rick has made countless clones of his family, and it's reached the point where nobody really knows who's real anymore.
Wait, I don't know who to shoot.
Summer!
I can't deal with this. I had to kill myself.
One such variant is the Glockenspiel family, where the Jerry of that group turns out to be one of the most sus characters ever shown on television. After Scarecrow variants of the Smith family kidnap another decoy Smith family, Glockenspiel Jerry and his version of the Smith family intervenes, saving the other Smith family from the Scarecrow versions. They do not care for killing other decoys, instead saving as many as they can. They take their counterparts into a canyon, where a community of various decoys hides underground. Here, Glockenspiel Jerry finds a can of varnish and calls it a ticket to the world beyond the river.
I found a can of varnish. This is a ticket to the world beyond the river.
The squids eventually find the canyon and attack everyone in it, causing Glockenspiel Jerry to lock himself in the escape route with the can of varnish, effectively leaving all the decoys to die, including his own family. Damn, that's rough. It doesn't end there for him though. During the epilogue, Glockenspiel Jerry escapes into the wilderness, takes off his clothes, puts the whole can of varnish onto himself, and goes down the river. However, he is soon spotted by a group of beavers who use him as a crib for baby beavers. The water floods, putting him to sleep, and he wakes to see he is stranded several years into the future in the wasteland that was once Dimension C-131. It's basically just an endless loop of torture from that point forward, because this version of Jerry is unable to die, thus leaving him to be tortured endlessly by generations to come with no respite at all. 8. A cereal to die for.
Oh, now they're all resting comfortably in my stomach. No! Spirit, save me! Take me to the light! Oh my god, I see demons!
Fans have often commented on the obscure and absurd nature of Rick and Morty's humor,
Grow up. If you don't want to watch, don't watch.
and they are right to do so because it clearly takes a twisted set of minds to come up with ideas like the Strawberry Smiggles commercial from Rixty Minutes. This was the 8th episode of the very first season, and our first ever introduction to interdimensional cable, so it was a whole lot to take in at the same time. We're only going to focus on the Strawberry Smiggles commercial, because that is indeed one of the darkest concepts to have ever aired on television, specifically if you consider the premise of this advertisement is to appeal to little kids. It shows a parody of the Leprechaun character known as Top Hat Jones talking about how he loves the Strawberry Smiggles so much that he will refuse to share them with anyone.
God forbid anyone ever take my Smicky's little people snibbles.
At first, this just seems like a case of simple greed, with Top Hat eating all the cereal to ensure nobody else can get it.
Last bite. Oh, now they're all resting comfortably in my stomach.
However, things take a turn for the worst when a couple of kids show up and tie him up, only to eat the Strawberry Smiggles right from his stomach after disemboweling him. The horrid screams from Top Hat coupled with the nonchalant and excited nature of the kids come together to give us a truly disturbing sight. The thing is, this is not a particularly long sequence as the episode had other things to deal with, but the impact created by such a mortifying sight was a lot more memorable than anything else, and not in a good way.
That's some pretty hardcore stuff, for a cereal commercial.
Well, Morty, you want to sell boxes of cereal, you gotta pump the gas a little.
Morty was rightfully terrified by the commercial, and to this day, I don't think I can ever eat cereal again. Yay, whoever said that cartoons and animations are only for kids seriously needs to reconsider their words if stuff like this exists. 7. A waspy dinner.
Ida! Run, my baby! Bonus!
You'd think that the Strawberry Squiggles commercial was a horrible sight to behold, but true Rick and Morty fans will know that was just the tip of the iceberg. There's actually a whole other scene where people mercilessly eat from another live being, and it happens to be in a reality filled with wasps. This was how season 4 kicked off, and let's just say that those who thought nothing could shock them anymore clearly had to eat their own words, kind of the same way the Wasp Smith family ended up eating all of Goldenfold's larvae. Yes, Mr. Goldenfold is a larva in this universe.
Oh God! Kill me! Please kill me!
We're wasps, not monsters.
And he is being dined on by Rick Sanchez and the Smith family, all of whom are in wasp form. Goldenfold cries and begs for mercy, even asking the family to take his life and end his suffering. But they simply ignore him and continue to do horrendous things to him, such as eating his eye and pouring acid on him before he gives birth to 3 larvae. Not wanting them to suffer, Goldenfold frantically orders them to run, but they are promptly eaten by Wasp Morty with such nonchalance that it makes you wonder if there is any humanity in this universe at all.
Run, my baby! Bonus!
Seeing this clearly made the actual Rick feel grateful he doesn't have it as bad with his own family, so that in itself should stand as testament to how messed up this sight is. The wasps continue to dine on Goldenfold after he witnesses his own kids being gobbled up in front of his eyes, so that was definitely rough for someone who hasn't even done anything that nasty in the series to have deserved such treatment. It's played off as dark humor, but the audience knows very well that nobody would ever want to be dealt a hand like that. 6. Stuck in the Matrix. This one may not be as gory or graphic as the previous episodes, but the overall implication is much darker, especially once you realize that this is eerily similar to modern life itself. Season 3, Episode 7, referred to as the Ricklantis Mix-Up, gave us a rather harrowing story depicting the truth of being a corporate slave. Here we see a commercial for Simple Ricks, which is a wafer filled with the psychic resonance of a Simple Rick spending time with his daughter Beth on her birthday.
His name is Simple Rick, but he's no dummy.
The fact that a factory would exploit the emotions of its own workers for the sake of profit isn't a new concept, but what follows is even worse. This is when the audience is introduced to Terror Rick, who got overlooked for a promotion, which was handed to an undeserving Cool Rick.
As of next week, the ass you'll be kissing will be that of Cool Rick. I'm Cool Rick! Yo, haha, check me out!
Naturally, Terror Rick had enough of the injustice, so he further contributed to it by killing his regional manager. He then took the factory and Simple Rick hostage and demanded for an escape, which kind of fell through after a failed attempt by the SWAT team led to Simple Rick being sent to the portal dimension.
No. God A portal to the Blender dimension?
That's when Rick D. Sanchez showed up.
I'm Rick D. Sanchez III, and I say that the Rick in there is right. He's a terrorist. What Rick isn't?
And seemingly offered Terror Rick exactly what he wanted. However, this is not some simple fantasy, and we quickly learned that what we were watching so far was nothing more than a pleasant memory for Terror Rick.
And every bite of new Simple Rick Freedom Wafer selects. Come home to Simple Rick.
Who is now being used by the company to create their new product replacing Simple Rick. It's an endless cycle of corporate greed that nobody can seem to overcome, and that's what makes it so dark for the audience. 5. Morty breaks into a rage. Rick and Morty has been able to gain such a strong following because of its dark humor, interesting plot lines, and also its ability to parody pop culture rather effectively.
Murdering each other without consequence.
That's right.
What? It's like The Purge, Morty. That movie, The Purge?
This has been a known aspect of the series right from the start, and in Season 2, Episode 9, they decided to parody The Purge. It was yet another brilliant mockery of a rather disturbing concept, and the creators took liberty in extending that into Morty Smith.
Screw you, Rick! I'll purge you too, you old rickety piece of crap!
Once again, we're made to doubt his morality and ethics because of his general tendency to be this soft, rather useless little boy who can't even harm a fly.
Of a year. Relax. That's what windshields are for.
All of that, apart from being useless, is thrown down the stairs in this episode. Exactly like how Morty shoves that annoying author down his own stairs as well. There was a lot of rage building up inside Morty's mind already.
Jeez. Wow, Morty, now you're getting into it.
Especially with the obnoxious and easily dislikable Arthricia betraying Rick and Morty right after they rescue her. Although that's mainly because of Morty's hormones kicking in once again. After the sadistic Purge crowd surrounds the Iron Man knockoffs, Morty finally gives in to his true intentions and creates a massive scene wherein he commits some of the most unspeakable acts of violence ever.
Okay, buddy. All right, that's good. Good job. Time to go home.
Even Rick was shocked by this, which is saying a lot because this man basically the most wanted man in the universe and multiverse.
I ain't taking no shit!
Okay, sorry about that.
4. A brother kills his own sister. Rick and Morty has been able to keep its audience engaged for as long as it has, because the show has been able to create some great filler episodes in the name of trips to intergalactic destinations.
Gonna be awesome. I gotta hand it to you, Jerry. This was a solid idea.
In Season 3, Episode 5, Rick takes Jerry Smith to a resort in another world, which is protected by an immortality barrier. This barrier ensures that nobody can die within it, which has led people to take this zone a bit too casually.
You can't die here. That's the gimmick.
Whether it was Rick and Snoopy bloopers having at each other, or a couple of siblings shooting each other in the head for fun, the premise in itself was extremely controversial for people to side with.
Beetle.
Yeah, I'm not really interested.
Oh, huh.
Of course, there was a point in the Whirly Durly ride where the roller coaster breaks out of the immortality barrier, and that was where Rick was supposed to be sabotaged by Jerry via Risotto Groupon.
Lure Rick to his death?
I'm only asking you to go on a ride with Rick, get off the ride without Rick.
Once that fell through, so did everything else, including the immortality barrier. The result? Those siblings turned into an only child within a matter of mere seconds. The part where the brother calls out his sister's name in doubt may have been showcased as a casual moment, but we don't really see how the rest of their story pans out. All that can be said though is that the brother is going to be traumatized for life, and the parents will take a lot of healing to recover from the incident. Having said that, it is still not an ideal situation to let your kids shoot each other in the head, even with an immortality barrier protecting them.
Leave that?
3. Beth begins her own mental downslide. Beth Smith has been a rather ambiguous character for most of the show. She has a good side and a dark side.
Please!
I thought it was too good to be true that we'd have compatible kidneys.
But she does check out to be one of the more likable characters, at least until she committed a grave sin in Season 2, Episode 4. Total Recall gave us a high adrenaline battle scene where tons of life forms were mercilessly assassinated by what was once a loving family.
Now look, it's like a Where's Waldo page. Can you find me? Check out all these zany characters.
However, this moment is nowhere close to being as traumatizing as the moment where Beth shoots Mr. Poopy Butthole after everything is seemingly back to normal. It's a somewhat believable action from her end, considering that she didn't really have any memories of him till that point. But what hits even harder is that her thinking was on the exact same lines as the audience.
photos, hard evidence. You're not in any of my photos, Mr. Poopy Butthole.
We too never saw Mr. Poopy Butthole before this episode, and the creators made it even more confusing for us by including him in the opening credits of the show.
Whatever you want, Rick. We're here to help.
Thanks, Mr. Poopy Butthole. I always could count on you.
Naturally, we'd feel that it was done to intentionally confuse us, but when it was revealed that Mr. Poopy is an actual person and not some alien worm, the audience too was in shock and disbelief. We're just lucky that Beth got inflicted with years of trauma after this moment, because a huge chunk of us would have probably done the same thing if we were in her place.
He's looking a lot better.
Beth, don't torture yourself. I made a similar mistake years ago.
2. Summer makes it harder for all of us. We've seen pretty much all of the main cast in some entry or the other, apart from Summer Smith, who is, at times, a lot more likable than Morty.
I hate you and I was thinking about your friend Grace.
Or at least has grown to be as the series continued. Season 3, Episode 6 has a scene where Summer is to be protected by Rick's ship. Naturally, with her teen girl mentality, Summer does not want anyone to lose their life or get injured the way the initial attackers were dealt with.
No! Stop! Don't kill him!
Oh God, I can't feel my legs.
Little did she know that the ship would go on to do something a lot worse. After scanning the first officer, the ship sends out a capsule that rolls towards the police. It opens to reveal a child named Hunter, the late son of the center officer who died at the age of only 7 years old after being drowned in a swimming pool. The center officer emotionally approaches his son and commands the police to cease fire as he talks with his son. Hunter then asks his father to leave Summer alone shortly before dissipating into a pinkish liquid, devastating the poor officer.
All can be taken away. Please step away from the vehicle.
The ship makes a final threat that then wards off the officers, horrifying Summer even further. This was extremely difficult to watch, especially if you can empathize with how bad it must have been for the center officer. The rest of the sequence is rather comedic, but that should not take away from what was shown earlier.
You're talking about the melting ghost babies? Yes, please, no more of that.
1. Switching lanes. Nobody would have expected to see such a dramatic and devastating outcome in the very first season itself. The 6th episode, Rick Potion number 9, saw the whole world turn into an apocalyptic nightmare, all because of Morty's desperation for a love potion.
What about me, Rick? Why can't you just help me out once for once?
Rick is equally to blame for this, as he should have at least informed his grandson of the terrible consequences in case of a flu outbreak.
I don't want to get sick. It's flu season.
It is?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Anyway, with everyone losing their minds and going after Morty, the biggest genius of the world had to come up with a solution. Unfortunately, this was one of the few times where Rick's solutions ended up doing more harm than good. He ended up turning the entire world into a bunch of Cronenberg monsters, with only Morty's family spared from the horrors of body transformation. That too is up for debate.
I don't get it, and I don't need to.
As Beth, Summer, and Jerry would go on to live as the only humans in a Cronenberg world. This wasn't even the worst part.
What do we have here, Morty? Looks like I was right and you were wrong, huh?
As Rick and Morty would end up going to another dimension where their versions died from an experiment gone wrong. Bearing the bodies of their own variants had to be messed up beyond redemption, but there really was no other choice for them. This episode, in a lot of ways, did set us up to expect the unexpected from this series as it continued.
You ever wonder what happened to Rick and Morty?
Sometimes.
Do you agree with me on this? Let me know in the comments if you want to see another topic. Okay then, see you in the next one.